and by the way, that's the type of liquidity that you need to, like, in order to get that type of size or even a fraction of that size, you need way, way, way deeper liquidity. You need way deeper markets. You need larger, not just retail to participate. You need institutions to be able to come. And when they need to do something, they're not just buying, 50 Bitcoin. They are buying much larger size over weeks and weeks, and they're trying to do it with as little market impact as possible. And they need to do it into duration, so they need futures. There's all these aspects of the market formation that just didn't exist in Solana and or just in crypto in general. And our take on it was liquidity is just so fragmented that and you have all these teams competing for it for such a small amount. Like, why not give a primitive that teams can just focus on, as opposed to needing to fight for liquidity or to find their own market makers or to create their own vaults or do it, whatever. Just have it there, turnkey, very easy to plug in, and focus in on building a dApp or building a protocol off of it that then you can go get users.
Okay, quick disclaimer before we get started. The Blockmates podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. The information and opinions expressed on the podcast are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Blockmates or its affiliates. Listeners are encouraged to do their own research and consult with a financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Blockmates and its affiliates are not liable for any losses or damages incurred as a result of the reliance on the information or opinions expressed on this podcast. All right, welcome back. I've been away for the past couple of weeks, gallivanting around Europe, getting really, really fat, and Jerry's away, so we've brought in a much better looking and younger Dan from Hxro. So, Gunny,
I don't know about maybe better looking. I don't know about younger, but I think Jerry and I are the same gen for sure. It feels like it.
He definitely acts a bit more like a boomer than you, so.
It's like I think it's like 5 years full time in crypto now. Like it's arrested my development mentally in many ways. Just a bit. So probably brought me closer to the boomer zoomer line, or whatever. What's between a boomer and is there something between a boomer and a zoomer? I don't. Yeah. Whatever. I'm in that purgatory, whatever it is.
Gen Z, I don't know. They just make shit up. They just like these terms. It's like fucking star signs. They make this shit up, and people just, I don't know.
I'm not a boomer. I'm a Gen Xer. Like, and ironically, like I have kids, and like my teenage daughters are like, they're like super into Gen X things. Like they're super into like grunge metal, and like that's kind of like it's kind of come full circle. Like they're wearing flannels, and like they got the Doc Martens and the whole bit. Like it's like the whole get up is like right on point from the 90s.
They got Nirvana on.
Loving it.
Nirvana exactly. And Pearl Jam blasting it. It could be a lot worse, to be honest.
It could be like into like the Spice Girls or shit like that. Like, yes,
fuck that.
Thank fucking God they missed that.
So I know it's been happening, but like even if we just take a little step back, what's the past 18 months been like? Like everyone I speak to looks like really worn down and haggard, and
18 months is like the 18 months, like maybe like multiply at times like what is it, dog year 7.2. So it's what it kind of feels like. Obviously, Hxro's been around for since Genesis, almost 5 years now. But really, the focus became building this distributed liquidity layer, this liquidity engine for derivatives and betting applications and whatnot back in 21, and started to design everything in 21. Really started picking up the building last year, and then during all that, obviously had to deal with like the general fallout of the bear market and FTX and whatnot. But I think that although there's still a lot going on in the background having to deal with that, just industry wide, I think the narrative of it has kind of started to wear off quite a bit, and so you're kind of seeing the aircraft carrier start to turn at port, which is kind of a metaphor for the market is turning, but it takes a while to turn, and kind of needs to develop the base, and I think that's what we're seeing now, and starting to see it also, like obviously Hxro Network is built on top of Solana, and had to kind of deal with the beta of what was going on with Solana being having that it had this kind of tangential interconnectedness with the fallout from FTX and whatnot. But again, like I think it's become an old story, and through it all, like the Solana community, Hxro Network, everybody just kept heads down building, and starting to see it pick up steam again, which has been amazing. Specifically to Hxro Network, we built a couple of protocols within the network, mainly one called Dexterity, another called Spandex. Dexterity is a derivatives liquidity protocol. Basically, think like what Serum was for spot markets, or what Open Book is now, or even like in some ways like kind of like Uni, but although Uni is much more vault based, Dexterity in its current form is based around central limit order books and is fully focused on derivatives, and also kind of derivatives of derivatives, which could be things that like leak into like betting applications and stuff like that. And it's meant to be this kind of ocean for liquidity that that applications can come build on top of, and plug in and share order books, and all share in the same risk engines and everything, and make it very simple and turnkey for builders to come and have this turnkey DEX, or this turnkey market that they want to build their DEX on top of. And so had been focused. The thing is that the core team, like a lot of projects in Solana, actually ended up building off of things like Open Book, or they kind of like tokenized their DEXs. In the case of Hxro Network, because of the way that we built our risk engine, which is far and away, it's the only one that exists in all of crypto, actually, that is a risk engine that's very much analogous to what you see in traditional finance, in terms of it does something called span style margining, or portfolio margining, where you don't, it's not just based on like gearing. It's actually based on like I have a position based on the calculations, it's giving me back what my required margin is, and that's what I'm required to post. And it all settles in USDC. Very simple and straightforward. And so, but we had to build the whole thing raw. So, and when you build it raw in Solana, you kind of.
I was just going to say there. So, building that from scratch and building that completely from the ground up, was it just a case of, from your kind of past trading experience, literally on the floor, trying to transcribe that over to what actually could work in a DeFi environment, and as opposed to what you kind of see now, it's like people are putting the DeFi building blocks together without having really that kind of past experience to understand like the full landscape of what's actually came before, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, that's been a huge advantage to us, is just knowing what existed in what exists in TradFi, and also like where the issues are in, and how to apply this into an on-chain world. And it's really helped us from a builder's perspective and from a design perspective. I think there's things that exist in Web3 that don't exist in TradFi, that are huge improvements also. But for the most part, I would say that most of what you see in crypto is a replication of, and maybe like just a more decentralized version of something that exists in traditional finance. And that's not always a bad thing. It's, I think, kind of the first step is to rebuild in this like open on-chain world, and then and then iterate on it. And so, when we built this, most of the core team and the core contributors, they weren't all Hxro, specific. Some of them came from some prop trading firms that are invested into the network. Some came from just developers in the Solana ecosystem that wanted to contribute. And, we ended up with a really good group that built this. And it took a while. It wasn't something that you can just spin up in in 30 days and launch it and see what happens. It was a pretty big undertaking. And so launched it, put it in beta, kept very low, tight capital block limits on it, tested it out, and also have this parimutuel protocol that was built as well, and ran that simultaneously, and both have since scaled, and now it's very much the network's in the process of it started to onboard some projects that were interested in building and participating in the network, and now there is we're literally getting like 4 or 5 applications a day into a grants program that we launched, to kind of help get things moving. And there's 18 projects building on it right now. I think it's like 9 or 10 that are either built or in the process of building, that are actual dApps, and then the other are like various forms of like tooling, and and it's everything from writing wrappers that will allow dexterity to interact with MetaMask, let's say, down to just like straight build ways to simplify building, to like building something to make even like the Rust SDK a lot easier to use, or things like that. So it's kind of run the gamut, and then obviously, and this is one thing that I think is such a big part of, and I'm sure we're going to spend a ton of time talking about this, but we've really, the network and the community really invested a lot of time in thinking about the token design and just the general economy of the network. And so that took a lot of time to shape. And now that's running between like the incentive programs that exist and how all the kind of the flywheels within the network work, and ultimately with this goal of progressively decentralizing it and letting the community kind of letting it be this kind of big open disintermediated network that the participants are the ones that are really driving how it's shaping and how it's evolving.
Can we kind of like start at dexterity and spandex and then work up with the kind of app layer that's getting built on top of it? Because what some people might be a little bit confused about, because you do see it in like certain instances, but if you're kind of operating on Ethereum or another kind of EVM chain, applications will just build effectively directly on Ethereum, and like Hxro kind of sits in this kind of middle layer to allow applications to then go on kind of
almost like an L2, a liquidity L2, right?
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. But like, I would just love to, if you could expand on why that kind of setup happens on Solana, has happened with like Serum and OpenBook, as you mentioned, in that way, and like what the benefits of that are. I obviously see them because, again, anyone who's listening to this now, if you read the article that we've just released directly before this, it just creates this ridiculous moat around the product. But I'd love to kind of hear like the reasoning of why that tends to happen a little bit more on Solana and with Hxro, as opposed to what people might be kind of accustomed to on Ethereum.
I'm interested if I think on Ethereum it happens in somewhat similar ways, even with like if you even look at Uni, like Hxro Network at the end of the day is a primitive. It's designed for applications to come in and to be a major Lego block. And now it has its own Lego blocks within it, but it is designed to be a liquidity touch point or a Lego block, or just a turnkey way to join, participate in order book based liquidity. And I think that Serum definitely was innovative in that it was the first one to do it with on-chain order books, which kind of gave us the green light to say, hey, this is one of the reasons we built on Solana originally back in, when we first saw Serum come out in late 2020. It was like, oh my God, the order book that's like updating in near real time on chains. Pretty cool. So I think that you see it in EVM chains with like, it's the good comps are really at the end of the day, like Uniswap in many ways. GMX, it now, like where GMX started as kind of its own stack with its own front ends and whatnot. But like, I mean, I think there's got, are there close to like 70 different like applications that are now plugged into GMX, right? It's
or
the same,
that will use GLP, or it's kind of nuts.
There you go. It's a very similar model like that. And I think where maybe Serum went wrong, and where it's kind of DeFi 1.0 and Solana in general, they didn't think about, there was not enough thought given to the token side of the equation to really create the flywheels, make it worthwhile for somebody to come and like use GLP, right? Like they had Serum, they had SRM, but like it was nothing. And now it's really nothing thanks to FTX. But I think on Solana, I don't know that it was necessarily Solana specific. It just there's a big white space for it. And I think one thing that we saw in Solana, and me coming from traditional finance, where like the size of the global derivatives markets is like of the order of like $600 trillion. It's massive, like absolutely massive. And you're talking about an industry where like, you have all of these different DEXs that are fighting for liquidity, and not even just at the Solana level, but in the digital asset space as a whole. And like the size of the market as a whole in derivatives is like, on a busy day is maybe $50 billion. Like it's a fraction. It's 1/10,000th of like what it is in the traditional markets, right? And by the way, that's the type of liquidity that you need to, like, in order to get that type of size, or even a fraction of that size, you need way, way, way deeper liquidity. You need way deeper markets. You need larger, not just retail to participate. You need institutions to be able to come. And when they need to do something, they're not just buying, 50 Bitcoin. They are buying much larger size over weeks and weeks, and they're trying to do it with as little market impact as possible. And they need to do it into duration, so they need futures. There's all these aspects of like the market formation that just didn't exist in Solana and or just in crypto in general. And our take on it was liquidity is just so fragmented that and you have all these teams competing for it for such a small amount. Like, why not give a primitive that teams can just focus on, as opposed to needing to fight for liquidity or to find their own market makers or to create their own vaults or do it, whatever. Just have it there, turnkey, very easy to plug in, and focus in on building a DApp or building a protocol off of it that then you can go get users, and focus your energies on getting users, on creating great new interfaces and user experiences that and really that's where the rubber meets the road in crypto, is like you find really good market fit at the consumer level. It's pay dirt. It's a huge breakthrough. It's something that doesn't happen too often, and when it does, it's pretty magical. And so we just wanted to provide that infrastructure, which we had the expertise to do just from our decades of experience in derivatives, in traditional finance, and then in crypto. And so that kind of what gave us the idea to build it. And then kind of adding this layer of figuring out how to create a network out of it and create a sustainable network. It's kind of this next layer that got added, and that's where we're at with it.
Can we do a bit of because I know a lot of our audience are complete apes and love to hear kind of token stuff.
Yeah.
Like A first, research later. I think we might make some mugs about that. But yeah, can you give us a high level Hxro token 101 and like value accrual to just the Hxro, and then something that we'll be covering over the coming weeks as you say, as these projects come online that are building on top of Hxro. There's an almighty flywheel coming, and we can kind of start to unpick that with some of the projects that have been announced and things like that. But we could start with like a Hxro 101 just to kind of bring people up to speed. Then we can kind of unpick and get stuck into the rest of it.
Put it simply, the use cases for Hxro and the network, HXRO is just a straight governance token, but there is a staking component to the network that is a VE style staking. So which is really kind of mainly how it's getting used at the moment. Staking is it has that lock/boost element to it. So you can stake for as little as 1 week all the way out to 3 years. And depending on how long you stake, you're getting a stake weight boost. So if you stake for 1 week, you're not getting any boost. It's just if it's 100,000 Hxro you have staked, then it is treated like 100,000 Hxro, all the way out to if you lock your stake for 3 years, you're getting your stake weight plus 300%. So it's like a 4x basically about the weight that you would normally get, and that will double as governance as things move to more of a DAO, which is going to happen progressively over time here. The rewards that come off of it. So every single transaction fee in Hxro Network that comes from all the dApps that are building, from all the DEXs, every time there's a transaction, the network is taking a fee. 50% of all of those, of every dollar of fee that comes in, is paid out to stakers straight away. That's kind of the first. That may change over time, like with governance. People, the community may decide to propose a different weighting, but for now, that's what it is. And the nice thing about it is that it's actually predominantly in like what everyone would call like real yield. It's USDC mostly, because the brunt of the transactions, because the fee is paid, the reward is always denominated in the fee that the network receives, and it doesn't convert anything. So you have most of the transactions that are happening are in USDC. So you are actually in real time. So somebody comes to onto one of the dApps that come out of Open Hxro, and they buy a Bitcoin, and it costs them $20 in fee, like in transaction fee. That $20 is immediately like half of it, so $10 of it is going straight to stakers pro rata. So if there was 100 million Hxro staked and you were a million of it, you're 1% of that. And it's just every second it runs, and it just is paying it out in real time, unencumbered. So that's that. Also with the token, it backs 1-to-1 the reward token that's on Hxro, which the Hxro version. Like, so anytime there's a reward paid out that is denominated in Hxro, it's actually paid in something called Hxro, which is kind of one that was taken from the GMX world, but it's an escrowed form of Hxro that is always backed 1-to-1. So the way that works is Hxro, when you receive it, you can do two things with it. You can either stake it, just like you stake regular native Hxro, or you can claim it. And if you claim it, once you claim it, and you can't do both simultaneously. Once you claim it, it unlocks for you at 1/365th per day for a year. So it kind of has this nice little, it's paying out the reward, but it's got a little throttle on it to prevent. Now it's really mostly done to prevent like kind of more mercenary
farm and dump.
Yeah, like because the Hxro, the network has, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit, has daily liquidity incentives. So if you're connected into a Hxro dApp and any volume you trade, like you're getting credit for that volume, and then every epoch it's going to pay out and that gets paid in Hxro. So that's like the portion of rewards that you would receive in Hxro, and that yeah. So and then the other thing that's it's actually just got implemented by the core team is that based on how much Hxro you have staked, it is giving you once you hit certain levels, it gives your account a reduction in the base network fee. So let's say that you're trading through PepperDEX, which is a new dApp that's going to come to market in a few weeks here. PepperDEX, say, charges is going to charge to transact on there, to take liquidity and to put a market order in or something, is like 5 basis points. And so PepperDEX is going to be 2.5 of that. The network's going to be 2.5 of that. But what the network does, because at the end of the day, your wallet is connected into Dexterity via PepperDEX. Dexterity sees your wallet and says, oh, this wallet has X amount of Hxro bounded to it in staking. So that 2.5 that we normally charge is only going to be 1.5 or 1. So you're getting a nice, there's like a discount program that's now embedded in there as well.
You see that with like centralized exchange, like VIP tier and all that kind of shit.
It's the same thing. It's just again at the network level, and there's going to be some cool things happening with. There's a lot of like this kind of B2B interplay that I'm sure we'll talk about also. With like, it's a big reason that dApps are going to start accumulating or wanting to accumulate Hxro as well, as a way to, because then in some instances they can actually drive down fees that they're passing through, and like there's a lot of different opportunities that exist from it. So
yeah, so like base level there, just to kind of recap for anyone who's coming in a bit cold, Hxro can stake for a max of 3 years, minimum 1 week. Obviously, you get the additional benefits of the boost up to 300% for the longer duration. That's a kind of it's a linear scale, isn't it? For like 1, 2, 3 years.
It's linear. Yeah, once you go out to, I think once you go out to 1 year is 2x, and then it's just like linear straight up from there.
Yeah. So and then that is accruing all fees generated that from applications built on top of Hxro, 50% taken, distributed, and then, as you say, per your stake weight. If you were to own 10% of the pool, every fee that gets distributed, you're taking your 10% share of that. Additionally, if you are operating on any of these apps as well, any volume incentives any volume that you're trading through there, you're going to be getting paid out in Hxro as well. So there's kind of a volume incentive there. And as I say, with the new implementation as well, if Dexterity is picking up that you've got this large, or even any kind of stake weight in general, there will potentially be a discount applied to the fee tier as well. So 3.
Yes, that's it.
Basically three kind of incentivized parts, even just at effectively the middle there of here.
We haven't even gotten to the applications yet, and I think that's where like the stacked incentives concepts are going to come in.
You know what's really funny, because you know what's really funny about this is what you're starting to see now with Cantor doing it. I know it's a slight variation on this. Cantor doing it, Phantom are doing it, and I can imagine there's going to be some EIPs in the future where applications that build on top of these networks are getting rewarded in a portion of the gas fees based on the smart contracts that are interacted with. So basically the way they're setting it up is incentivize developers to build great apps that get a lot of interaction, a lot of traction, and are quite gas intensive. And then a portion of those fees get sent towards the creators of those smart contract developers. This is kind of like, obviously it's not exactly the same, but if you think about Hxro, if we used it as like an L2 analogy, even though it's not, but we'll stick with that.
Yeah.
Any application that is feeding in or is directing or generating revenue from that, portion of those fees are going feeding back and then being distributed to stakers. So, and again, it's not just you're staking and getting paid out emissions, which there are some emissions, which are great. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of it, I'll just like to happily just.
They're very controlled emissions. Yeah, they're very controlled emissions. It's not a dominating part of your rewards. So most of it is going to be in USDC, SOL, things like that. Bonk.
And what?
Even, like there's a
I've got some bonks out in mind now. What's the is it how do you coin it? Is it the path to 1 trillion or something, like how the emissions? It's like event-based control as opposed to just inflating for the sake of fucking inflating like some people do.
That's specific to the volume incentives. So like for trading, when you're trading into any dApp that is connected into the network, it's 1,000 1 billion notional value epochs. So notional value is like if Bitcoin is at $30,000 and I bought 1 Bitcoin perp, that's $30,000 of notional volume. And so it's 1,000 1 billion notional value epochs. And once you hit epoch, like the end of epoch 1, once there's $1 billion traded, it will release all the rewards, and then just every epoch up. I mean, it's going to last years, like or at least until as the market gets busier. Eventually, like the network, when it's doing $1 billion a day of volume, which is not, that's kind of like the target. Just kind of more along the lines of where like you'd see like DYDX or things like that, just trading on it with their own, like not even like imagine having 20 DYDXs, albeit a little smaller each, but like the collective is like, it's what's the saying? The sum of the parts greater than the whole or something. And you're going to see that accelerate. So, and it's very much like, and I say this every podcast I'm on, like liquidity begets liquidity. Like it's the bottom line. It's just volume begets more volume. Liquidity begets liquidity. Activity gets more liquid. It's so reflexive. So once you start seeing it pick up, which it's slowly starting to do, it just brings in more and more. And so that's kind of the play. That's what's happening on it.
Yeah, because you've seen a lot of people that just had kind of traditional schedules that have just had their ass handed to them, particularly in the bear market.
Horribly. I think, back to what you were saying, like I think you said they're doing like the gas fee.
Like the
Kanto. Yeah. The story for me, it has really always been this like community capitalism concept, and like it feels like the where this industry is helping kind of the world evolve, and DeFi is helping the world evolve, is that like I think the future of work, there's going to be this like, it's not like you go apply for a job and get a job. It's not like you're an entrepreneur. It's I am a part of a network that is allowing me to contribute to it. It doesn't care what I look like, what clothes I wear, where I live, mostly. But obviously, some jurisdictions that are off limits, but unfortunately, but I can come to it, anonymously, pseudo-anonymously, contribute to it, participate in it, like can be a token holder and stake. I can come and earn tokens and stake, and that is then going to produce rewards for me that are real money at the end of the day. And so I am being rewarded for the positive contributions that I'm making to a network. And when there is a whole bunch of us, when there's thousands of people doing it simultaneously, like that to me is what DeFi is also about. Not just like not your keys, not your coins. Like it is also about the disintermediation of a protocol that allows people to come contribute to the network and collectively scale it. And I think it changes the way the world like looks at work. Like I think most people in crypto, like some people on the outside look at it and be like, oh, you do nothing. And it's like, well, no, I actually like sit at my desk for fucking 18 hours a day, and I'm contributing. It even comes out. It goes all the way back to me to like to mining WoW Gold. You know, like there were like, I think when World of Warcraft came out, there were like people that just professionally like just mined WoW Gold all day, and then they sold it, and like that was like the early genesis of all this, right? But this concept, it's community capitalism at its best. And community capitalism is really like where you have, take like a town and imagine a town where all of its economy like cycled back to the town, and it basically had these flywheels that allowed the town to sustain itself. Public utilities to buying local to all these kind of elements that are flywheels that allow the town to be self-sustaining and not have to rely on government or rely on a central party to manage it. And I think that is so much like, even though that Hxro Network is focused on this liquidity for derivatives and for betting apps and all this stuff, it is a place where you can be a DApp builder, you can be a trader, you can be a punter, you can be just an engineer, you can be somebody who is active in the community just because they're just want to be a community participant. You're a token holder, whatever it is that you can contribute in some way. You have your token staked. There are all these flywheels in there that are built in there that are designed to, as the wheels turn, everything is interconnected such that it becomes self-sustaining. And like, I think that's something that, especially in the Solana ecosystem, has been heavily missed.
100%.
I think you see it so early in it. It's one of the greatest breakthroughs of DeFi and EVM chains, and it shows its face as like these like financially engineered money games, and some of them like are total fucking Ponzi's, which sucks. But like, the concept to me of real yield is really just a regeneration of protocol revenues that are cycling back in useful ways back to the community, such that it creates a flywheel that allows the network to become self-sustaining. And I think that is like my high level thought of really what Hxro is, and the intricate designs of how a user interacts with it, how a builder interacts with it, how a DApp interacts with it. And this to me is why token is so important, and why protocol rev share is important, things like that. It's not for like, it goes well beyond just like the basic thought of it. It is so much more for me that like, as things scale, it just becomes a machine that constantly turns and can turn on its own.
Yeah, I think I say it all the time, but I think there's probably you guys, and I honestly struggle to kind of pick out another, not to kind of shit on other people, but I honestly struggle to find out another kind of projects that's thought to the depth and to the extent that you guys have thought out with kind of just Hxro. And I've seen what PepperDEX have got coming out, and that's just awesome. That's a cut above the rest with regards to apps that are on Solana. It's like nothing else that's ever been over there. And the standard criticism that we hear is, particularly in like Blockman's community and when we're venturing out and speaking to people, is when there's stuff over there that people can get their teeth stuck into, and there are these kind of flywheels, it will just create stickiness inevitably, because of a great product like that built on top of Hxro with the tokenomics that they've kind of drummed up. It's just, it feels like a breath of fresh air and a kind of like revival of what it should be.
It's actually bringing the Solana, it got it so into its own lane in kind of like the DeFi 1.0 movement, and it didn't evolve. It evolved from a tech perspective at the Solana level, at the blockchain level, but it didn't evolve from a DeFi perspective. And it really is like 3 gens behind EVM chains. And how it shows its face in EVM chains isn't always great, but there's so many elements of it that I think are so spot on that we just have brought Hxro Network community has just brought over those concepts and applied them into its own network in ways that that actually, when you kind of add it all up, it's like magnitudes more powerful than anything I've seen even in EVM chains. And I think I think that look at I was talking to a founder in Solana the other day, and he was telling me about they're trying to do more stuff with their token, which is great, and was talking about emissions, and he's like we're trying to figure out how to reward our ecosystem without inflating our token. And I'm like, if you thought about your protocols make a lot of revenue, if you thought about sharing some of it. And he's like, I never thought about sharing some of it. And I was like, if you're not thinking like that, are you're still thinking you're running a shareholder owned corporation. And that's not what this is. This is for community by community. And that's how you really want to think about it, because your biggest and best users, your biggest and best participants, your biggest and best builders need to be aligned, and they need to be rewarded for the contributions they're making, because you're not giving them a paycheck. It doesn't work like that. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of mental, to be honest. That's
it's crazy, but that's how far. I remember I was talking with the founder of Badger, and a few months ago, and he pointed out to me too. He was just it's just, when I dig into the Solana ecosystem, it's just they're still in the Uniswap phase in many ways of where the Uni Aave phase, early days of
token not needed.
Token not needed. And so now there's some projects that are starting to do tokens on Solana that, or at least they're talking about them. And I don't know to the extent of how they're thinking about their token economics, but at least they're doing tokens, and outside of just Hxro, definitely nobody is doing anything close to how we're thinking about it at this point, or how Hxro is set up, which far and away has the most powerful flywheels in it. And I'm saying this from experience of multiple years being a fairly aggressive DeFi user in the EVM world, while I still build on Solana. But but I think it's a really good time, because the Solana narrative also is definitely the ship's turning in a good way, and I think it's going to bring a lot of attention and kind of allow Hxro Network to really publicly get out there with what it's doing, not be stuck so much in the Solana echo chamber, and and really show people where this opportunity is, which is really cool.
So can we dig deep into a couple of the apps? And I'd like to see as much as we can get into effectively, and maybe if we could start with PepperDEX. Obviously, the announcement yesterday, the day before, one of the days.
Yeah, I think 2 days ago. So PepperDEX is a perp DEX, perp and expiring futures DEX that's built on top of Hxro Network. It is the DEX itself is going to roll out in about I think 4 or 5 weeks from now, is my understanding. It's going to go live, and they're just kind of in their community build up mode and coming out party. And they do have a token. It's called the PEP token. They are introducing a whole other level of incentives and rewards that is really cool. They are full value accrual as well. So even on top of Hxro. So when you're on PepperDEX, you're actually on Hxro Network, but you're also on PepperDEX. PepperDEX is the layer, is the DEX that that you're basically trading into dexterity through. And so they're set up so of their fees that are being taken, they're like, it's like 30% is going to LPs of the PEP USDC PEP SOL vaults. 20% of the fees are going back to Pepper stakers. They have a really cool rewards concept that I think was taken really from the Tapioca concepts, which I know you guys are, have been a big part of. They're introducing something called OPEP. And the way OPEP works, so OPEP is their reward token that you will receive. There's some OPEP emissions going towards being an LP in the PEP token vaults, and then another set of OPEP emissions / rewards are going to for volume incentives. So let's just take the volume incentives for a second. This is something cool that we can circle back to, like how that would work with Hxro. So imagine that you're trading through PepperDEX. You're an active trader. You are going to earn when you connect your wallet, you're connecting into PepperDEX, which your wallet is connecting PepperDEX, which is really connecting into Dexterity, which into Hxro Network. And so anything that you do through PepperDEX, you're not only getting PepperDEX rewards, you're also earning Hxro rewards as well. So making that same 1 Bitcoin of perp that you bought on PepperDEX, you are now getting OPEP, plus you're going to earn your share of Hxro. So what does that allow you to do now? Now you can take that OPEP, and I'll explain how you convert OPEP in a second. But now you have OPEP, which you can convert to regular Pepper. And then with that Pepper, you can stake it, or you can sell it, or you can put it in a vault. And, if you stake it or put it in the vault, you're going to start earning your pro rata share of PepperDEX protocol revenue. And with the Hxro, as we already discussed, you can take the Hxro and stake it, and also earn your share.
Paid from all angles. Yeah.
You're getting paid from all angles. It's just like it's incentives squared. It's and that is that's the play. So it's pretty exciting to see this like stacked incentives concept that will basically allow you to compound. When you're trading, you think about it from a rewards perspective, like your rewards basically have just doubled for transacting on on a Hxro powered DApp, which is really cool. So I said that one of the rewards that you earn on Pepper is OPEP, and the way OPEP works is OPEP's an option token. So it basically has a 90-day term on it. So you traded, or you have earned it from emissions by providing liquidity in as an LP in the PEP USDC or PEP SOL vault. You've earned OPEP. You have 90 days to convert it, and the way the conversion works, and this is something again that is a super powerful flywheel both for Pepper and for Hxro, is that Pepper, you can convert the OPEP at a 50% discount to whatever the current Oracle price is of Pepper. So you have, and then you actually, the way that the Pepper team or the Pepper treasury or community has decided to do this is you don't use USDC or SOL to convert it. You actually use Hxro. And so you convert the OPEP to regular Pepper, and you basically pay for the conversion with HXRO. Now, why would they do that? They're doing it because the Pepper treasury, as an application that's building to Hxro Network, has a goal of accumulating as much Hxro as it can. And why is it doing that? It's doing it because it's going to take that Hxro and max stake it to the network. So now you as a user have given them Hxro, you got Pep back, you went and staked your Pepper, or you went and put it in a vault, or you did whatever with it. They're taking the Hxro and staking it to Hxro Network, which, remember, when you stake to Hxro Network and you max stake it, you get your base weight plus 300%. They're accumulating that because now it's also giving them, it does two things for them. One is they're now receiving, just like any Hxro staker, the network rewards. So they're receiving USDC and Bonk and SOL, whatever, back to their treasury, which is increasing their protocol revenue, their overall network revenue for Pepper. And then they're going to take that and pass it through to their stakers as additional rewards. So they're just compounding or boosting their staking yields through the property of staking Hxro, which they're accumulating, one through the OPEP conversion because to make everyone stake with or convert the OPEP with Hxro. And then also separately, they're taking 5% of the protocol revenue and they're buying Hxro off the market and as well, and max staking that. And so that concept, which for obvious reasons I love, but just philosophical reasons, to me it's very much analogous to like how Convex built to Curve, or Aura did to Balancer, or like I think like, is it like Lit or Bunny, it's done with Uniswap, like where over time, like you're going to get this interesting kind of game that's going to happen between dApps that are building to the network that are going to be accumulating stake weight in the network as aggressively as possible. Number one, because they're going to want to use that as things start moving towards DAO-based governance and voting and proposal voting, that they're going to want to use that to start shifting or trying to propose things that maybe benefit their protocol, like their dApp more, or their community more. And also it's just getting a bigger and bigger share of the Hxro network rewards, which when you think like from their perspective, it's got this like huge alignment such that these dApps are wanting to get as much trading going as possible, because obviously that's all spinning back into rewards, which is causing their users to get them more Hxro through the conversions and things like that. And it's this like massively powerful flywheel and then for the Hxro network, it loves it because it allows like further disintermediation of the network, which like the network and the foundation's goal is to obviously progressively decentralize this. And you want all of these dApps. We want these dApps to become the largest holders of the network over time, and their users. And that to me is like a sign that we've hit some level of real disintermediation or decentralization in the network. But yeah. That's basically how that Pepper flywheel works, and pretty damn powerful. Pretty excited about it.
I said to you the other day after this got kind of announced, I was like, obviously the first iteration of this kind of like curve wars or whatever people like, that kind of gimmick that people call it, but protocols trying to absorb as much curve as physically possible to have their own kind of stake weight and obviously the revenue generated from that. But they're all very, very one-dimensional in the sense where they provide you with a liquid wrapper for for an indefinite lockup with CRV, and you get a bit boosted yield that's paid out in additional governance token, and we all know kind of how those things go. Yep. But with this, like immediately where my mind went was, they've got this similar sort of concept, but they're using a completely different mechanism and a totally different product to accumulate Hxro to then obviously max stake it and then earn very, very liquid tokens within USD and USDC and SOL.
Yeah.
And it's like, so they're approaching it from an expiring futures and a PepperDEX. And then we've obviously got Flowmatic, and you've got all these others that are coming online that are potentially going to do the same thing. But the issue with what I see with Convex, and there's like Bent Finance and all these, they're just one of the same. So it's the same product doing the same thing. So it's a race to the bottom of who can print the most fees to give the boosted rewards to absorb the most CRV. These are individual,
right, which is kind of the sole purpose of those things. They're not actual like they lack a little substantive.
Yeah. So if you put a product on that could stand on its own 2 feet on top of that as well, that's when it really gets interesting for me. And for them acquiring Hxro as well, from a selfish perspective, no one wants to be sat on a treasury of 100% of their own token. That's of no use to anyone. Treasury diversification strategies are pretty poor, if I'm completely honest, and doesn't really look good if you're selling tokens on the market to keep yourselves afloat. So they can stake Hxro and fees from the rest of the ecosystem that's adjacent or around it as well, and SOL, USDC, and all the other settlement tokens.
And then you're participating in. You're basically participating in a share of everybody in the network's activity. So it's a true network. Part of me, like you have PepperDEX, you have this other DEX, you have ARB, or you have Flowmatic, which I want to talk about Flowmatic too, because they're doing some really cool stuff. You may think initially that you're competing, but you're not. You're actually, everybody is like kind of on the same team. And it is truly like a rising tide lifts all boats, because if you have one DEX that really crushes it, and your team, your treasury is staking Hxro, you're going to participate in the rewards that come off of that. It's truly an incredibly powerful flywheel as it gets turning.
Is competitive a word, or have I just made that up?
Is what?
Competitive.
No, I like it. I think that might need to be a new blockmate term. That's a Hxro term. I think for Hxro, we got to call it competitive. It's perfect. I love that. That's awesome.
What's Flowmatic? What's happening with Flowmatic? Because I know, we've been following it for a while. As soon as it kind of the logos started getting dotted around on the Hxro feed.
They're a super solid team. And they originally built this really cool front end UI called that they call Terminal. That actually it's kind of fun. It's like a little bit of a throwback, like for the Gen Xer in me that was trading on a desk 20 years ago. Like it has this kind of like old ASIC green screen feel to it, where all of the commands on it are text-based. So like when you want to pull a chart up, you just type chart. When you want to pull a market up, you just type just type the symbol up. When you want to put an order in, you just type bid. And like they're doing things like that and adding hotkeys, and it's actually a remarkably great UX, which is cool. But to me, that's not it definitely is like another unique way of interacting with the market. But I think where they are going to be the most powerful, and where like the greatest opportunity with Flowmatic is they have built even the V1 of this a really robust API. And so what that allows you to, there it is, cool. What it allows you to do is it allows builders to come and basically not have to interact with the complexities of an SDK. It's just a straight TypeScript API right now that you can make real simple commands to build automated trading strategies, to do all these cool things with it. And like what that is going to end up being is probably like the main API on Hxro Network. Let's say I want you to film me. So you think like from a volume perspective, like the largest in any type of market, the largest, most active volume comes from automated trading, and most automated trading is connecting via APIs or SDKs, and that API is going to power a lot of automated trading systems. It's also going to power other dApps that are in the network, and Flowmatic is going to think of it just as a little toll booth. It's just going to earn a little rip of every transaction that comes through that API. And so like even like YoloNolo, which we can talk about in a second too, they're launching Nolo perps. That Nolo perps, the whole build is powered by the Flowmatic API actually. So every transaction that's going to come from every Discord bot user from Nolo perps, Flowmatic is going to take a little rip of. The other thing that they're doing off of that is, and one of the features that they have is they're building all these kind of like cool advanced order types. Like they're basically building libraries that can be easily accessed through this API as well. So things like TWAPs and bracket orders and take profits and chart-based trading, like just a lot of the things that make trading like kind of set it and forget it a lot easier to interact with. So they're going to make those things like that advanced order type package available to other dApps in the Hxro ecosystem. So take PepperDEX, for example. PepperDEX is going to have advanced order types that are going to be powered by Flowmatic. So when you're on PepperDEX and you go to a drop-down menu and you want to put a TWAP order in to say, hey, buy me like 0.01 Bitcoin perp every minute for the next 2 hours. And what will happen then is that order, although you're doing it through PepperDEX, like PepperDEX gets its fee, and then Flowmatic is going to get a little piece of that fee as well, because you just routed the order. Remember, like from all these dApps, they're all on top of Dexterity. They're all on top of Hxro's protocol. So these dApps are just different gateways into transacting into the same pools, because it's all shared liquidity, shared order books, right? You don't have this bifurcation. Flowmatic's order book and PepperDEX's order book are the same order book. It's all shared liquidity. That's the power of the network, of like the compounding effect. So Flowmatic's going to have all its users using its API, using terminal, using its advanced order types. They're going to be doing these, like in their V2, they're going to be doing all these vaults where you're just like, they're going to have automated strategies that you can just like, put USDC in and let it run. Like they're doing some cool shit. And again, all shared order books. They're all just skins of built on top of Dexterity. And so this, like Flowmatic, while it has terminal, this API and the libraries in the API and the things that it's doing are all going to be allow it to compose with all these other dApps in the network as well, whoever wants to use them. And so I see that becoming such a powerful protocol, because it's going to become this little toll booth where it's just collecting fees now. And then their incentives and their token and everything is going to be very similar to how I think they're setting it up similar to how PepperDEX is. So they're going to have an option token for rewards. They are going to be cycling back protocol revenue back to their stakers and to their token holders as well. And like this is something that I was thinking of the other day that was like kind of crazy. So if I go to PepperDEX and I put an order in through PepperDEX, and when they implement Flowmatic's advanced order types into PepperDEX, and I put a TWAP order in to buy $100,000 notional of Bitcoin perp, I now am getting PepperDEX incentive, Flowmatic incentive, and Hxro incentive all in one trade. It's pretty sick, actually. Right?
Yeah,
so this is like the way around. Like,
people go to where the incentives are, don't they? So
yeah, like so now off
incentives.
the same dollar of risk that I'm putting up is, and also like Hxro Network, because the margining system's pretty badass. Like you're getting, to buy $100,000 worth of Bitcoin, I think it is like, you got to post like $8,000 of margin or something. It's not much. And so there, obviously it depends on volatility and whatnot, but there is like, you think about, okay, I had to post $10,000 of margin on this position. I just earned X amount of rewards. Like my true yield off of trading, like on a per dollar basis, is insane. And so, like, as a trader, and as just somebody who's thinking about this from a financial perspective and opportunity perspective, it just would make sense that I want to go to where I'm going to get the best rewards. And also, like, and so this is such an interesting way to approach it and think about it. And you're getting composability in the network, and it's these incentive flywheels are all so aligned for everybody to work harmoniously and work to build Hxro. And it, again, like, it accrues to each one of these dApps, but it also, all of it from all dApps accrues back to Hxro Network. So
yeah, I'll be sitting at the bottom just collecting all the fees from absolutely everyone that comes across.
I would love to see a day when there's, like, very soon, where you have, like, good holders that, again, this goes back to this concept of, like, community capitalism, right? Where, like, it's not socialism. It's not like, oh, I'm going to come here and work for a fixed cost and all the money's going to flow up to one person, which is really how socialism works at the end of the day, even though it's supposed to not. It's community capitalism, where, like, I have contributed to this network in one of the many ways that I can contribute, and my contributions should benefit me as the individual, and the bigger contribution that I can make, the more I should be rewarded. But everything that I'm doing is also positively impacting everybody else and the network. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, that, to me, is what community capitalism is all about. And when you get enough of that turning, you should really capture network effects and really scale.
Yeah, 100%. Can we talk YoloNolo? Are you okay for time, by the way?
Yeah, I'm good. I got a few minutes. Yeah. All right. Yeah, YoloNolo. YoloNolo is awesome. So YoloNolo is kick-ass. Just the backstory. It spun up basically out of nowhere. They actually built a Discord server bot that, like, the basis of it is that it's command-based trading. They basically did what Unibot has done in the swaps market, but they did it originally for pari-mutuels. So, like, basically you can go into a Discord server that downloads it. So I know, like, Blockmates has it embedded, and you can, if you have an account on there, you can just, like, type /YOLO or forward, I forget what the commands are, but it'll allow you to do a few things.
And then enter the amount.
Yeah, and then, like, you can, which basically would allow you to, like, say, okay, Bitcoin in the next 5 minutes, if it closes higher than, like, if the candle closes higher than where it opens in the upcoming 5-minute candle, then you'll win your pro rata share of whatever the pool is. And then they has the same thing for down, right? Like, just, like, straight up, this is like old school Moonrect style pari-mutuel. Pretty cool.
So good.
And the original genesis of it is that they built it as this embedded tech for these pari-mutuels, and then they launched a token that, like, initially was, like, thought of as a meme coin, which was the YOLO token, and it was launched on SPL, like, on Solana, and it took off. It for Solana being, like, in the doldrums at that moment, it didn't do too bad. So now that they kind of got themselves out of the gate with it, they're evolving it. And how are they evolving it? Number one is they are now launching, which I think is going to go live in a couple weeks, something called Nolo Perps. And so what Nolo Perps is basically, it's the same thing as the YoloNolo bot, except it's for perpetual futures trading. So you're going to be able to go into Blockmates, for example, and who would have the Nolo Perps in their embedded YoloNolo tech, and you have your account set up, you can literally hit / buy BTC, whatever command it allows you to do, and it will let you trade perpetuals straight in the Discord server. So imagine what happens when you have a trading, like, what I love about it is it kind of, like, reinvents this trading pit concept, that, like, you get a room full of traders that like all do this together. It is fucking magical what happens when you have a trading room and like you have something like a perp in the middle of it. And you know, a lot of like even back in the old days, like when like Bitfinex was like a big trading platform, like 2012, 2013 Bitcoin days, even up to like 2016, 2017, there was this thing called TeamSpeak that like a lot of these OG traders all would get on this TeamSpeak together and trade perps on BitMEX and on Bitfinex and whatnot, and like it became legendary what happened there. And like I know it from personal experience, not from TeamSpeak, but from like when I was trading live and I was trading off the floor. Like if you've ever traded on a trading floor and you're like you're either on a desk with like 100 other, it's like the biggest like locker room you could ever be in, 100 other traders there. But you feed off each other's energy too. It's really cool, right? And there's something magical that happens when that works. And now with YoloNolo perps, you have this embedded technology that will allow you to transact there. So one of the things that they're doing also that was like somewhat of a right turn, but I'm going to be so interested to see how it plays out. And I'm hyper. I was already hyper bullish on it, but I'm hyper bullish on this. Is that they're converting their YOLO token. So they had this YOLO token that was like very meme-ish that was on Solana. That's on Solana. They minted like 8.8 trillion or something crazy like that, and I think kind of caught like some of the meme coin moment. But the reality is that the coin itself actually had accrual value to it. So it really wasn't a meme coin. It actually had use case and purpose, very much like Unibot. It's almost like identical to Unibot. And so what they actually decided to do, and some of this is the fact that like from their take, which is not incorrect, is that the size of kind of the degen trader token market in Ethereum is just like the end of the day, it's still, hundreds of times larger than it is currently in Solana. Not to say that Solana isn't trending up, because it is, and that's exciting. But the cold-blooded facts are that the Ethereum world is just like massive right now, right? And so what they're doing is they actually have pivoted their token. So they're converting. If you're a YOLO holder, you can go to YOLO nolo.xyz. There's a page up. You can block your YOLO there, and I think on July 20th, they're going to convert it, and they're going to convert it to the NOLO token. And why they didn't use YOLO, bottom line, this is another reason they wanted to change, from my understanding, is that on Ethereum there was like multiple YOLO, and they were all rugs, right? And so it wasn't like you have this project that actually is trying to do something interesting and useful, and then you have these fucking rugs that are using the same symbol. It was not good. So they switched it to NOLO, and you're going to commit your YOLO now, and then you're going to get NOLO. So you commit your YOLO on SPL, basically you're like turning it in, and then you're going to get NOLO on Ethereum, ERC20. And they totally changed the tokenomics. Like it went from like having 8.8 trillion to 4.4 million. And NOLO is gonna, I keep using the Unibot analogy, but they set it up very similar. So there is a buy tax and a sell tax when you trade NOLO, when you're going to trade it like on Uniswap or wherever it's going to trade. That tax, like a big chunk of it, I think half of it goes to LPs straight away, like to people that are to wallets that are LPing the YOLO USDC, YOLO ETH crosses, or sorry, NOLO USDC, NOLO ETH crosses. You'll also have a percentage of the protocol revenue. So I think something like 4 bips of like a 25 bip transaction fee is it goes to LPs. And then if you're a NOLO holder, you'll be able to drop your tokens in like a real simple staking. It doesn't have like lockups and stuff like that, but you'll earn protocol revenues. You're gonna earn a significant amount. Like again, like almost all the fees except for like a small amount that's going to the treasury to build treasury up is going from the buy and sell tax on the YoloNolo token, plus the perps, which the perps are still trading on Solana, which will be interesting. So you have the tech.
It kind of works with how Phantom's set up now, though. With you can have your Ethereum address and your Solana address all under one UI. And look at this. Look, I found this morning, right? Look, and if people think these Discord and Telegram bots are just like another flash in the pan, if you have a look at this is DeFi Llama. So Unibot is currently number 10 on 24-hour daily revenue at around 87K.
Yep.
That's more than GMX yesterday, and this is only spot trading. It's more than Avalanche. It's more than Avalanche.
And they have a massive buy tax and sell tax too, right? On it, like that's where those fees are coming from. Like it's amazing to see, and it definitely is a new trend. Like YoloNolo is so on it. Like I will share one alpha, is that there's a bonus right now to buy YOLO, to turn your YOLO in and lock it early. So like it started 2 days ago when they opened the lock at like 10%. So like when you convert, if you locked 2 days ago, you're gonna get your conversion amount plus a 10% YOLO bonus on the Ethereum when you're on the ERC20 side. And then it was like 9% yesterday. It's 8% today. It's 7, 6, all the way down to the last day. And then I think they're going to keep it open for like 30 days to convert, but you won't get a bonus. But the little alpha drop is if you buy YOLO now and then convert it, you're going to get the bonus. But you also are not paying, like if you want to own YOLO, you're not paying the tax. So it's like worth it now to just buy as much YOLO as you can, convert it, get the bonus, and then you'll be trading YOLO. You'll have YOLO on the other side without paying the 4.4% tax. Yeah.
So you get a boost and then you save effectively, as opposed to just buying.
Get the boost plus you save. Yeah, you save a few shekels too.
So it's double. Yeah.
And then they're going to launch, like I think day one they're going to have the LP up, and then I think within a week or so, hopefully they're going to have the staking up, where you'll be able to just like commit it. The best reference point is really Unibot. Like they are really following. It's not a clone, but it's a lot of what, like it ain't broke, don't fix it. A lot of things Unibot is doing. The difference is that it's derivatives. It's perps, not swaps yet. I can imagine that they're going to move into swaps eventually, but because I think that I can see that just being an obvious evolution. But look, the perps market's bigger than the swaps market by a huge magnitude. So, and what's more degen than punting perps? So. in
Discord, while you're giving shit
with Discord while you're trolling people that are getting rinsed. Yes, exactly. So, really cool. And again, like all of it's powered by Hxro Network, and just back to the Hxro flywheel, like of that transaction fee, like I think 6.1 bips, I think that's what I saw on the thing yesterday, is going to Hxro Network. So every single transaction, again, from YOLO perps and from YoloNolo's up down thing, like all going back to Hxro Network. You're a Hxro holder, you're staking Hxro, you're getting a share of that, pro rata share of that fee.
And that'll be in USDC.
That'll be in USDC.
And that's only 3 that we've covered.
That's only 3. There's a lot more there. That's only 3. I think they're just with the way that they're evolving, like very going to be the ones that are going to like lead the charge out of the gate here. There are a couple of new grant recipients that are coming that are doing some cool stuff. Like there's one called PepperDEX that isn't live yet. PepperDEX is combining Hxro's order books with like a GMX style B-book vault, which will be really cool. There is a mobile app that that is building to Hxro Network that is like, I think there's a great story there because like Web3 hasn't really had its mobile moment yet. Like,
no.
And I think that this team, very, very experienced group of engineers, are wonderfully positioned to actually make that happen.
I'm in Asia now, and everyone's mobile first. Everyone.
Yeah.
No one operates on a computer.
You totally, yeah. And like, I think the best that we've seen is like, I mean, I think like on Solana with like Backpack and stuff, like you probably start to see some cool things happening, but mobile first is definitely where it's at. And they're building it it's on Solana, but it's not just like the Solana Saga phone. It's for all Android, which is cool. And then like, like we didn't even talk about the pari-mutuel side. Like the last thing I'll say just for the network, like there's a BD team. There's a new gaming studio called BitBlocks that just came to life. It was actually derived out of the biz dev team that came from a betting platform called Stratagem that ended up getting sold a couple years back. And actually they came into Hxro and like we're working on Iconic and some things like that. And they've really spent the last year building up relationships with gaming operators. So like an operator, the way the gaming market works, like an operator would be somebody like Rollbit. And Rollbit may have some of their own games or some of their own things in there, but most of what they have on there is content. It's just licensed content from like, from gaming studios. And what BitBlocks is doing is they've built games that are built into Hxro Network protocols. So like they utilize the pari-mutuel protocol so far. Like they built their own versions of like Moonrat, like up-down games and different offshoots of that. They're building some stuff against the derivatives, against dexterity. They're building some other stuff against, there's going to be a new protocol that's going to be kind of like a more of a probabilities protocol, like a 0-100 style protocol that is going to go into the network in a few months. They're going to build some things against that. But they actually have right now 7 MOUs, like 7 agreements of which 2 of them are on the verge of going live right now. That with operators and like one affiliate who actually is like the largest. It's the largest affiliate for Betfair in Asia. And he's pushing, they basically set up their own whitelist. It's a platform called 166bit, a white label of Iconic that is plugged into Hxro Network that is imminently going live. And that's all like the perp stuff's fucking awesome. It's all I talk about, but like, pari-mutuel is like thing in the gaming space. Like these guys had basically been going to these operators, and operators know they need to get to Web3, and like the only extent of kind of Web3 style gaming in that traditional iGaming space has really been like how crash games have evolved, like Bust-A-Bit, and it's become like the hottest thing there. And so they think, and this is like through real like testing, that there is going to be a big push on these pari-mutuel, on these these like short-term up-down games, like the pari-mutuel, like what Hxro started as 5 years ago with Moonrat, and they are this content / gaming studios building different types of versions of that, and now putting these where they're going to be embedded widgets on platforms. Like it's not on Rollbit yet. I'd love to see it there eventually, but similar type of platforms, Betcoin, things like some other ones that are going live, that you're going to see, you're going to see real dealer blackjack. You're going to see crash games. You're going to see roller coaster, and then you're going to see like, up down or some other version of it that they're launching. And all of that. So what's cool there is like this is now a Web 2 front end that's feeding into Hxro Network, which is obviously Web 3, and it's these entities. They already have massive amounts. Like that affiliate, that Betfair affiliate. I think their affiliate list was like close to 3 million users, and mostly like Asia Pac, and Eastern Europe, places like that. So, like, I think that even capturing a small percentage of that, you're going to see such a significant boost in network volume and transaction activity, like almost like overnight. It's going to, and it. I guess maybe call it a little bit of an alpha drop, but it's imminently going live. So, and again, all going to feed back into the network, into stake token holders and value accrual, and this is how it's supposed to go. So, pretty exciting. I know it's a lot to download.
I'm excited because I'm lost for like.
You asked what we were doing at Hxro Network at the beginning of this. Yeah, exactly. This is what the 8 years has felt like. And look, man, you can't. Like it's been a grind, and doing it in bear market, it's always makes it rougher. This is not the first time we built the genesis of Hxro in the bear market of 2018, 2019, and this one was arguably more stressful, I think, because we didn't know what we had at the time, and now we do. And also dealing with like the kind of the gusts of wind pushing against us on with Solana and like the FTX stuff, but that all being behind us now, and the sky's definitely opening, and I think everything that I just talked through is pretty much most of what we've been doing here. So it's all very well positioned
as well.
Exactly. Like I'm really excited. I think it's.
I said before we jumped on and started recording. It's like it just feels like it's all just slowly slotted into place, and it's just a strange coincidence that Solana seems to be on the uptick as well, whilst these things are just nearing into coming online. So it's I can imagine you'd have liked things to have came a little bit earlier, but sometimes things happen like this for kind of a reason, and everything seems to have aligned properly. So
it's like the best trading advice or business advice I can give anyone. When you have something, and you're stuck building, or like when you're in a trade and like your gut, especially if you have experience, because when you don't, it's hard for you to understand what that emotion is. But when you're going to bed in cold sweats and like going like, oh my God, is this gonna be, am I dead here? Or like, this is never gonna turn around. Like at that moment, double down.
Yeah.
At that moment is when you really need to double down, because it is almost always the bottom. And the reason it's the bottom is like that same psychological pain that you're dealing with, everybody else is dealing with it too. And there is a lot of people, most people can't manage that or deal with it. And most people aren't sociopathic founders that have somehow managed to like block that emotion out or like sweep it under the rug. But when it gets really hard, is I think when it's really time to double down. That's the blood in the streets moment. And and you saw it with Solana, you saw it with like everything. You as a founder with Blockmates, I'm sure you guys had moments where you're like, are we fucking crazy for what we're doing here?
I thought we were absolutely fucked at one point.
Man, it's always the moment. It's always the moment. Nothing happens in a straight line, and people will look back on it and be like, oh God, this thing came up overnight. And you're like, well, no, this is it's taken years off my life and years off of a lot of hard working people, and a lot of people that like invested into the long term growth of this. And I think we're at that inflection point right now.
It makes the victory a little bit more sweeter when it inevitably comes away, I think.
Yeah. You get to go sleep for a little bit, and then actually you don't, because then when it's like jamming, you don't want to go to sleep.
You don't want it. Yeah, you definitely don't want to go to sleep.
Vicious fucking cycle, man. Not for the faint of heart, but we're here, and it's exciting to see, and you know, I just love seeing other teams come in and kind of take the reins, and like they're thinking about the things that we're thinking about, and thinking about interesting ways to apply it, like, you know, what PepperDEX is doing, Flowmatic, and you know, we've definitely dedicated a ton of time to putting Hxro on that path, and you know, we've seen it prove out in EVM chains, and it's just like, this is the time for Hxro now, and I'm excited to see it do its thing.
Likewise. Right, Gunny, thanks very much. I'm sure we've probably got another 25 protocols that'll be building on top of Hxro to cover in the next couple of months, so I'll have to do it again soon.
Absolutely.
And yeah,
we'll stay on it for sure.
Anyone who's listening, by the time you listen to this, there will be an article that explains a little bit of what we just talked about in detail. The title might not be suitable to open at work, so just check that one out on the website.
In classic Blockmates fashion.
But yeah, Gunny, thanks a lot, mate, and take it easy.
Okay.
See you later.
Thanks, buddy.